Good evening, everyone. Mary, thank you so much for co-hosting. Thank you all for being here, supporting each other. Can't wait to practice together. We'll wait just a few moments, and then we'll say hello, and then we'll forget the past, forget the future, forget the present. Just be aware. But before we do that, we'll just rest our weary minds wherever you are, and our bodies. Come back to the world as it is, not as we imagine it. Okay, I think we're at that moment where we can unmute and show your picture if you're willing and say hello to each other, say where you're calling in from if you're so inclined, and so we can hear each other's voices.
Hi, everyone. Dog Patch, San Francisco.
Hey, Rhonda, good to see you.
Big
Hi,
love,
everyone.
Nashville.
Hey, Jerry.
Good evening.
Another Howard from British Columbia.
Hello, Howard. Good to see you.
Mary from Santa Barbara. Hi.
Hey, Mary. Always a pleasure.
Hi, Elle from Calabasas, California.
Where is, oh, who's in Calabasas?
Elle.
Oh,
Hi.
hi, Elle, there you are. I see you. I'm on a smaller computer than I usually use, and so everybody is tiny tonight.
Hi from Maryland.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, it's Leith from Edmonton, Alberta.
Hi, Leith. Glad to have you with us.
My name
Hi,
is
Steve from
Eileen.
Berkeley.
Oops.
Hey, Keith. Who said my name is?
Eileen, and I'm in
Oh,
Sebastopol.
hi, Eileen. Good to see you.
Eve from San Francisco.
Hey, Eve. Wherever you are, I can't find you here on the screen, but I'll. Under Sushma. Got it.
Rebecca from San Francisco.
Hi, Rebecca. Always a pleasure.
Hi, Susan from Victoria, British Columbia.
Where? Oh, Susan, yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Seema. No need to unmute if you don't. Hi, Nina. I can see you.
Yep, I'm still Seema. Here's my voice.
Hi, Seema. Okay. Thank you all for just entering your voice into the void and filling it up with your good nature. One of the amazing things about our humanity is when we come together as we say in the Dharma, cultivate the wholesome. There's a goodness that flows from our voice. And generally, sanghas are communities, are places where we can feel a little more safe, included. And so that lends itself to our essential goodness flowing through. We're not entering, we're not tossing into the silence our resistance and fear and lack of safety. And so it's a gift. Sangha is a gift in that way, as it provides an environment for us to feel safe and consequently, we are more easily able to love and be loved and share, even when it's virtual. So anyway, I'm glad to hear your voices, hear your good nature. But we're here also to sit. That's to me where the action is on our Tuesday nights. This is the place where we recover our sanity. We recover our attention. That gets very scattered in the busyness of our lives and reactivity of our minds. So together is definitely a stronger force, even virtually, than practicing alone. And so together we intentionally let the past remain in the realm of memory, and we just let it go. It doesn't really exist as a thing or a place. It's just memory, and memories may come, but we recognize them as just thoughts in the present moment. And we let go of the future, which is really only experienced as thoughts, and often with a tinge of worry. But that's all happening here, and so if worry comes, we feel worry. If thoughts of future come, we just notice them as present thoughts. And we let the future go as a thing or a place. And that leaves us here in our bodies. And we let our eyes close and feel our bodies from the inside, where they stop being bodies and reveal themselves more as a field of aliveness, a field of sensations. And we feel that. We feel the weight, the earth element. We feel the cohesion, the water element. We feel the temperature, the fire element. We feel the vibration, the air element, or the breath, the wind element, air element. And we very gently, without traveling anywhere, return our attention to nature, our nature. And then nothing more nature in us than just the simple fact of being aware. Maybe reminding yourself that awareness is not an I, it's not a me, it's just nature. And so we rest in the nature of being aware, nature of through the elements, earth, air, fire, water. And we try to stay in touch with nature. Let it calm us. Let it heal our scattered, wounded, reactive hearts. We let ourselves just melt into the openness of nature and the openness of awareness, like a block of ice that's been just left out in a midday sun. We let all our stresses melt into that openness. And because the openness may be something we're not so used to, we can support remaining open, remaining aware by staying connected to our body and its breath. And just noticing and enjoying the body's experience of breathing. Making no attempt to breathe, making no attempt to alter the breath, just letting the body breathe. And just immersing our attention in the experience of the in-breath and the out-breath. As it presents itself, short, long, rough, smooth, deep or shallow, however it is. Noticing how we're filled on the in-breath and how we empty and let go on the out-breath. And just letting our breath teach us how to let go. Just letting go brings peace. So let each breath go as it will. If you're feeling your elements or nature in the body, being aware, the byproduct is you're emptying your mind of its usual preoccupations and you're filling it with life. And just let this emptying and let this filling happen by itself. With just this breath, just this moment. And if you get caught up in a thought bubble, in a world of your imagination, once you become aware of it, just treat it as thoughts coming and going like clouds. And settle back into the nature of being aware and embodied. And the breath. Just this breath, just this moment. If moods come, breathe with them. Sensations become predominant, breathe with them. Not in order for them to go away, but just to cozy up to them, just to say, it's okay, you're here. And sounds come, breathe with them. Everything welcome. If you're sinking into dullness, notice that quality in your mind. Even make a soft mental label: dullness, sloth, torpor. As long as you've acknowledged the presence of that state and see how it behaves, and just to bring a little energy, bring your attention very close to the body and breath, sinking into it, sticking to it, spreading out all around it. Sometimes a focus will help awaken energy. And if you're restless and agitated, acknowledge that. Don't fight with it. Just like the Zen expression, the way to control a cow is to give it big pasture. You want to let your mind be very open and know that restlessness is like this. Restless, restless. Worry, worry. Remember, there's nothing to do about the presently arising state or undo. It's whatever allows you to meet that without reactivity. And all we adjust is the quality of our attention. So we just try to make space or come a little closer, but we don't try to get rid of anything. We rely on the fact that everything is changing by itself, self-liberating. So no need to help the Dharma along. Just be aware. Rest in that nature of being aware, and accompanied with this felt sense of the elements of the body, just this moment. Begin the practice right now. Since our destination is here, every moment is a new beginning. Can always begin again. Aware, embodied. Just this moment, just this breath, just what's arising, just what's predominant. What a joy to sit with you tonight. Minds are so interesting and mysterious. But I'd love to hear how yours is, as well, at least what appears to be ours. Well, yours is not mine, but there really is no yours or mine, but conventionally speaking, it seems like there is. So what's happening? What's happening with you? Any questions, comments, topics that emerge from the sitting? Feel free to use the raised hand function or your physical hand if you can't find the function. But if you want to just enjoy the quiet, that's also fine. Okay. Last call. Okay, well, I'm happy to share what stray thoughts were occurring during the sitting and some things I thought I would speak about tonight. I was visited, at least in my mind, by the qualities of mind that become developed over practice. It's what the Buddha's line was: whatever you frequently dwell upon or practice becomes the inclination of your mind. And he also said that he saw nothing that was more conducive to misery than an untrained mind, and nothing more conducive to joy than a well-cultivated and well-trained mind. And so tonight I was kind of enjoying not something that is particularly personal, but conditions of mind that I know are the result of things that have been explored in the past. And partly why I said that our mind is mysterious, and I could add to it wondrous right now, is that, and so trainable, and so much more interesting than just our thinking mind and our neurotic patterns, the untrained mind, you could say. That, sitting and just immersing myself in and us sitting together, and I feel it every week that I feel I'm really held and supported by practicing with you. And what came so clear tonight was more of an immediate and direct experience of the three refuges. Refuge in the Buddha, which is that which is awake, nature in us of wakefulness. That's Buddha, Dharma, nature, the way it is, whatever's happening. We go to the Buddha for refuge, we go to the Dharma for refuge. We don't seek anything but this when we practice Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha equal to the Buddha and the Dharma. and I go to the Sangha for refuge, and I can feel that coming together, I've entered a temple in a way, a temple of safety and support and quiet, and agreed upon that we won't talk for 45 minutes, and we can cultivate the qualities that lead to liberation, lead to our mind and our heart feeling more free, feeling more like ourselves again. Just the end, moment by moment, of trying to fit in or trying to be somebody or become someone or get rid of something, or all the preoccupations of our mind, or change something. And just coming home. So there was the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, but what occurred to me, what memory occurred to me, was I think it was like 7 weeks, 6 weeks of a particular practice period back in the late 1980s, when I was practicing intensive metta practice, loving kindness practice, and expanding, starting with someone who was I considered a benefactor. I'd spent a week on a benefactor, just generating thoughts of loving kindness. Whatever you frequently dwell upon becomes the inclination of the mind. And by the time I was finished with that benefactor, my heart was just so open. And I didn't like everything about the benefactor, but I just love them. and it was just a channel that gets opened up because of what I was frequently dwelling upon. And so that channel of loving kindness, it develops by practicing it, by encouraging it. As I've said many times here and everywhere I go, is that loving kindness is the natural expression of a mind and a heart that's awake. That when we're in touch with the Buddha, the heart flows. But nevertheless, because we're so conditioned toward reactivity and ill will, it just needs a little extra support by consciously inclining the mind toward love. And then I moved on to near and dear ones, beloved friends, and then people who I would ordinarily not even notice, and then difficult people, and through it all. At that time, my enemy, so-called enemy or difficult person, was an ex-family member who had left some damage in our family, and at first my mind just bounced off of that person, but I just kept at it, and pretty soon I saw their humanity, and my heart opened, and whatever I frequently dwelled upon became the inclination of my mind, and I love them. And I even told them that I loved them the next time I saw them. And they looked at me shocked. They were sure that I was carrying, like everyone else, this terrible ill will. And I could just feel their system. What a gift. And I wasn't busy giving a gift. I was just feeling the effects of the practice. And the feedback loop was what we call the cybernetic, the giving and receiving that's part of every interaction. It came back as someone who first surprised, but then their heart was kind of open. They felt safer. Then went on to all the different classes of all beings. We tend to live in our little bubbles, and if one frequently dwells upon the fact that there are, of all breathing beings, all those in existence, all individuals, all those in existence, and then that includes all the beings of the air, beings of the earth, beings of the waters. the heart expanded, feeling much more connected to all beings because of just frequently dwelling upon that. So every one of us can do that. I don't mean necessarily, I highly recommend an intensive practice period because you smooth that path, you open up that channel and it becomes developed. And the more you can do that, the better, but you can do that stealth style, like I've talked about before many times, while you're driving. May you be happy, may you be happy, I love you, I love you. And you just changed, and I know for me, at times it's dramatically changed my perception of truck drivers I mean pickup truck drivers who are the road I don't even know what to call them. They are the most difficult beings on the road, are the ones who drive pickup trucks. No offense to you who may be a pickup truck owner, but boy, they tend to be more aggressive. And so one of the ways of not falling into ill will is just keep wishing them well. So I had no intention of talking about metta tonight, or loving kindness, but more in what happens when one frequently dwells upon something. It becomes the inclination of the mind. And then what became so mysterious, and it was mysterious even at the time that I was doing this particular intensive practice period, is that the teacher I was working with, at this time I was doing this intensive metta practice with Joseph Goldstein, who was my root teacher, who I had tremendous trust in. And I was following his instruction about how to go through these different categories, and he was listening for where the hindrances were coming, and they come in a slightly different way when you practice metta. Energetically, I don't want to get into that right now, but he was very skilled. But then he started recommending a certain kind of resolve in my practice. And what he said to me was, he said, use these Pali words. Pali is the derivation of Sanskrit that was close to the language that the Buddha taught, that the Buddha spoke, but not exactly. But Pali is the language that the sutras of the teachings, the oldest sutras, the Theravada tradition, the oldest sutras of the Buddha were first recorded in Pali after 500 years of an oral tradition, which the Buddha recommended that people share in the idiom of their place and time. And so it was different languages, but it ended up being recorded in Pali. And Joseph said, just when you're in the middle of metta and it's flowing pretty smoothly, and you start to feel an upsurge of some pleasure in the practice, then, and I'll just use these words, you don't have to know what they are. He said, resolve or say to yourself, may vitaka arise. Now, at the time, I didn't know what vitaka was. I do now. But when I said, may vitaka arise, all of a sudden, internally, something happened. My mind went, whew. It gathered very intensely. It was like it was like directing it. And it became my mind, and it actually had an internal sound connected to it. Completely unbidden, this thing happened. It's like I pushed the button on the ATM machine and something happened. It's completely just a condition. And once Joseph heard that I could actually experience whatever that was distinctly, he said, move on to the next one. He said, may vichara arise. And all of a sudden my mind went, it made another sound and a very intense kind of gathering feeling. And then he said, may piti arise. At the time I'd heard the word piti. It's the word for rapture. Vitaka is the word for aiming or gathering, and vichara is the word for sustained attention. But with each of these, there was a qualitative shift in my mind. Didn't even know what they were, but I could experience it. Mysterious, the nature of our mind. And then after piti, I felt this kind of expansive feeling, and the sound became very loud, and the feeling in the body became, very charged. And then he said, may sukha arise. And sukha is the word for happiness or comfort. I knew the word sukha, but in this context, I didn't know what to expect. When he said sukha, my mind went, woo, 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 woo. My whole body started doing this kind of soft, massagey feeling. And then he said, after he knew that I experienced something when I said those words, the next time he said, this time resolve that ekagata or ekagata arise. Didn't know what ekagata was at the time, but all of a sudden my mind went, woo. It was really steady sound, and my body became very still. And it turns out that ekagata is the word for one-pointedness. Just the one point, the deeper meaning of that is the one point that includes everything. So I started to feel very, very still, at the same time very expansive. So then Joseph encouraged me to invite those qualities without saying the words, but once I got familiar with each one, he says, may these qualities arise in succession. And so I just sat back and my mind went boom, 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 boom. And it just did it all by itself. It's so mysterious. And the effect of doing that is my mind, this pathway was smooth, and my mind just started very naturally, especially when it felt a little happy. It started entering into these states that included all of those qualities all at once, and which was very intoxicating, it seemed very healing. It made me feel I was just kind of immersed in present time and didn't want to be anywhere else. So that it was a kind of letting go of the obsession with what's next that tends to govern much of our mind's habits. And I'm not really a woo-woo, new agey kind of person, but I kept saying, I feel the divine, I feel God's presence, all this kind of language that I don't usually use. It just started flowing. And it was all because of what I had frequently dwelled upon. I just kept doing it through the medium of metta. So my recommendation for all of you, and why it's not just to tell you about my practice experience, but to encourage you to incline your mind toward metta. Do it all the time. Just do it all the time. And then on top of that, what these qualities tend to grow just by themselves by practicing, but what these qualities that seem to be inherent in our mind, otherwise I wouldn't, again, it's so mysterious. I don't know how something in my psyche knew what they were. Maybe there is a collective unconscious, maybe there is some kind of historical connection that each of us has, ancestral connection to the Pali words. But I'll never be able to explain it, but it put me in a state of awe and wonder how, without knowing what those words were, my mind did exactly what's written in the suttas that's meant to happen when you evoke those qualities. So we all have them. That's what I would suggest. And so when you need it, when you need a little focus, may vitaka arise, and notice how your mind starts to gather. And even if you know that it has something to do with focus, just drop that word focus into your mind. Just notice what happens when you hear that word. When you hear that word, it tells, and something happens in your mind, focus, that tells you that this is a quality that you have, that it's an unconditional quality, in other words, that it's there for you. And when you say vichara or sustained, just say sustained attention. Just drop that in, those words, sustained. And especially when you're talking to someone. My intention tonight was really to talk about attention. Because attention to someone, you've heard this expression before, attention brings affection. I was talking to my wife Annie earlier this morning, and I've been complaining a little bit about, and I think I've talked about it on Tuesday, complaining other than after my brain operation, I was scrambled a little bit, but now that all my neurosis, everything's back. I'm back to feeling completely normal. I didn't get the reset that I thought. And one of the things that's continues is noticeable, and I know that many people share this, is that compartment in my brain that we use for recalling names just seems to be absent much of the times, where I really have a hard time retrieving names. And I know that's a natural function of aging, and most memory doctors won't do anything about that, really. But my wife was saying something about how the secret to memory, remembering things, and maybe not names, we don't even need to include that, but the secret to remembering things is attention. And once that word attention came into my mind, obviously gentle attention with clear comprehension, that's mindfulness. That is the gateway to liberation. Attention is the gateway to everything. And these qualities that I spoke about tonight really enhance attention and enhance the feeling of well-being. As that passage from the Buddha, there is nothing more conducive to well-being than a well-collected, cultivated mind. So attention really is the name of the game, and especially right now, where it's one of the causes of so much restlessness and agitation and reactivity is our mind is dwelling a lot because of the world events and politics and climate and inequality. It is dwelling a lot in reactivity and worry, and an excessive diet of that without the balance of attention, of careful, gentle attention. And we become, as they describe it in psychological terms, we become dysregulated. So I was thinking about attention today, and I noticed that every time I injure myself, which has been frequent lately, a whole box of books fell on me. I was moving too fast. I was rushing, and I wasn't paying close attention. I wasn't clearly comprehending what I was doing. I was just got a little bit caught up, and when I say rushing, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't do things quickly. If I can do things quickly with attention, I'm less likely to injure myself. But if I do things quickly and that mental state of rushing has crowded out the attention, the mindfulness, then I tend to just make a mess. And I think that by and large we are really distracted. And I actually wanted to read something to you tonight from someone who has sat with me a lot over the years, and I had the great privilege of officiating her wedding, and now she's had some fantastic service businesses helping to support young people to experience themselves as global citizens, as people who can really offer a lot to the world. Her name is Abby Fallick, and lately she's been writing a blog that is quite wonderful, and one of them happened to be on attention. And I just want to read a few excerpts of her blog, and I don't know whether she will hear this or know that I spoke of her, but thank you, Abby. You've given the world a wonderful piece of writing. Said, last week, listening to Ezra Klein and Chris Hayes discuss attention capitalism, something clicked. They put words to what I felt in my bones. We're not just living through a crisis of democracy, climate, and inequality. We're living through a crisis of attention. And it may be the most insidious of all. The smartphone as cigarette parallel is more than apt. It's haunting. Apparently, there was a time when doctors bragged about their preferred brand. I'm viscerally aware of where my pack is at all times. Whether I'm reading a book, running in the redwoods, playing Bildsy with my boys, my phone's presence or absence is a phantom limb. Most poignant are the moments when my boys have to practically or actually scream for my attention because I'm lost in a scroll. Quote, people before phones, I heard my friend tell her kids. Easier said than done. For years, there have been warning calls from wise and prophetic voices. And they were links to articles about attention. I'll just continue a little bit with a couple paragraphs. But what once felt alarmist is now undeniably true. Number one, our attention is being extracted, traded, and sold in nanoseconds. Two, the more outrageous the content, the faster it spreads. Number three, we're pulled toward what's loudest at the expense of what matters. Four, our kids are the next frontier. Apps are literally fracking for their attention. Consider this. In China, TikTok delivers science experiments and patriotic content and cuts users off at 40 minutes to prevent endless scrolling. They're serving spinach domestically, Tristan Harris told 60 Minutes, and exporting opium. They don't have such guardrails here in the West. Equally telling, the most aspirational career for young people in China is to become an astronaut. In the US, a social media influencer. As a species, we're hardwired with a low tolerance for discomfort. Our devices and their algorithms make this exponentially worse. We're built to chase whatever shiny thing takes us out of our minds, to bounce at the first whiff of unease. But our restlessness, whether from boredom, aversion, or craving, will never end or be sated. The merchants of attention weaponize this wiring. When I was reading this, my attention was brought back to a piece that came out in 2010 from an editorialist, or probably now a blogger, maybe he was blogging then too, from the San Francisco Chronicle, named Mark Morford. And I thought that I would share a little bit of Mark Morford with you tonight, just to share with you the way that our attention gets hijacked, and how important it is to come together like this, or for you to have your practice going stealth style, formal style, and whatever style, as much as you can, without getting lost in the stream of distress. So here's from Mark Morford. This particular editorial was entitled, "Hurry Up, Get More Done, and Die." Your terrifying word for the day is microtasking, and it comes by way of a relatively humble, ostensibly helpful article I read via one of those perky little DIY blogs that exist to tell you a million ways to tweak and hack your entire existence to gain maximum productivity, efficiency, and improved overall time management. Because, well, if that's not the true meaning of this manic American life, what is? The advice was horrifyingly simple. When you find yourself pausing between normal projects and work tasks for anything more than, say, 30 seconds, why not take those tiny moments and, well, do more things? I mean, you're just sort of sitting there, right? What sort of things? Fast things, little things, otherwise inconsequential things you don't care about otherwise, like clearing your junk mail, refilling the stapler, changing your voicemail message, retweeting someone's Twitter blip, or giving a momentary damn about something you need not give a damn about otherwise. But hey, what else are you going to do? Breathe? Feel? Merely exist? What are you, a hippie? It's fascinating and yes, terrifying idea, really, that if you could just maximize your output a little bit more, if you could cram into all open white space another thing to do, wow, think of all that you could get done by the end of the day. Think of how much you could get checked off your list. We are, by and large, utterly terrified of silence, stillness, spaciousness, of doing nothing so as to feel the totality of everything. Meditation for most is disquieting and strange. Deep quiet feels weird and dangerous, a void aching to be filled. The internet has convinced us that the world is a roaring fire hose of urgent information, and if you can't swallow it all, well, something must be wrong with you. I'm just debating right now whether to keep reading. Are you okay with me continuing? 3 more paragraphs. In any 48-hour period in 2010, says a stunning bit I just read in The Atlantic by way of the entrepreneur Yuri Milner, more data was created than had been created by all of humanity in the past 30,000 years. By the year 2020, that same amount of data will be created in a single hour. Go ahead, swallow hard. It's no longer possible to sit quietly on the park bench without checking your Facebook feed, chat with Siri, and wave to the CCTV cameras. It is no longer possible to be astonished at the wonder of your footfalls along the forest path and not feel the urge to check email, find the nearest Starbucks, but this is dated, Find the nearest Starbucks, Histomatic the hell out of that beautiful fallen tree. You cannot just sit in your car along a quiet country road without the GPS beeping that you took a wrong turn on OnStar as OnStar politely blows up your car. How easily we forget. Time expands, time contracts. Work will swell or diminish to fill a given space. You can do 10 things in an hour or one thing in 10. You can go to Spirit Rock Meditation Center for 2 solid weeks and do absolutely nothing but wander the grounds in silence for 12 hours a day, and time will look at you like you're utterly insane as you breathe and your body, as your breath and your body thank you for all eternity. You can conversely microtask until your heart implodes, and time merely will laugh and snort and find someone else to destroy. So for some reason, reading this tonight, I realized that you all know this already. I have a feeling that you're not a microtasking crowd, that you've fallen in love with space and time and silence, and you can actually give yourself to that. But we're all still being influenced very strongly. We are being fracked. We are being encouraged to stay in that fire of ill will and aversion, of polarization, of othering, of being mad. And we have good reason to be mad about some things and frustrated about things and care about things. But the only way that I can think of staying regulated is to frequently dwelling upon love and attention over and over and over and over again. And connect and sustain. That's vitaka vichara. And then feel the aliveness that comes when you connect and sustain, when you feel the cold water on your hands when you're washing them, or the dishes, the warm water, when you feel your feet on the ground, when you taste the food, when you hear the birds sing. You know, this morning I got laughed at when I told somebody about it. But I was sitting on the back porch, and the birds are starting to really come with spring. And someone had turned me on to the app Merlin. And so I'm taking in the nature, but I couldn't resist turning on Merlin and then pushing the button and letting it list 11 birds, different birds that were, and that's all interesting. But the moments of just mingling with those sounds and the reverie and the connection where there's no desire for anything or to be anywhere else, that ship had sailed, and I was into exploring the birds, which is not a bad thing. At least I slowed enough to be able to hear them to begin with. But nevertheless, I need to remember to put my phone down, leave it in the other room, and really take in life right where it touches me. That's what the little duck does in the swells of the ocean. And as Donald Babcock says, what does the duck do? He sits down in it. He immerses himself in it. He I've forgotten it. See, he reposes in the immediate as if it were infinity. He eases himself into the boundless right where it touches him. And that's each of us when we just pay attention and we just incline toward love. So thanks for listening. And I think I'll hand you off to Mary now. And then we'll say goodnight to each other. Mary,
Thank you. All right. Well, I just want to remind folks of generosity. That's how we all are here. Howie gives of his time, his wisdom, his love, and we give support to each other and we give to ourselves, but we also need some financial assistance, and so that's also where you come in. So let me put the information about Donna right there. Whatever you can offer is greatly appreciated, and of course, if you cannot offer, you are always welcome. So
Right.
anyway, so thank you for your presence. Thank you for any offerings. Much appreciated. And back to you.
Thanks, Mary. Just to let you all know that I'm cooking up a couple dates for some online half days and in-person half days. So I've got something in mind for actually relatively early in April on the online, and then hopefully in early May in about the 10th or something of May for in-person if we can get a space. Anyway, thank you in advance for your Donna, and thanks for your past Donna. It's really made a difference in us being able to keep doing this, so thank you. And please feel free at this time to unmute and say goodnight to each other, and really lovely being with you, and thanks for letting me just share what I was thinking about. Thank you.